I don't care how much brush control you have. If you don't have a good painting process, you still won't paint fast. My name is Hero Song, and today I want to talk about how to become a faster and better painter. The most important thing you can do to paint faster is streamline your painting process. When I started out, I thought painting faster is all about brush control, but it really isn't. Brush control is something that you will learn slowly over time with lots and lots of practice. And sure, having good brush control makes it easier to paint quickly and well since you make fewer mistakes. But there is one extremely simple thing we can do to make it so we can be a little bit less careful with every stroke of our brush and make up for some lack of brush control. We want to paint the hardest to reach and largest areas of our model to completion before moving on to other sections. And we want to paint our whole model like this in sections until it's done. On this model, Hoff from the game Moonstone, the skin is the largest area of his body and the one that's covered by the most stuff. So I'll paint that to completion before painting anything else. I'm able to use a really thick brush to quickly slap on my coat of paint for the skin. I'm moving fast and totally ignoring any mistakes I might be making at this stage because I haven't painted anything else yet, so there's nothing I can mess up. I recognize that this sounds intuitive, but a lot of people don't learn to paint this way. Many videos for beginners out there tell you to paint all the base coats for the whole model, then wash everything, and then finally move on to the highlights. This is how I learned to paint, and when I finally stopped doing that and started painting in sections, I noticed that the speed and quality of my painting improved drastically. If you do try to base coat the whole model and then wash and then highlight everything, you'll have to fix mistakes in between every single one of those steps. And it's much more likely that you'll make a mistake along the way painting the lower layered and harder to reach places on your model. So if you get those out of the way completely first, you'll limit the mistakes you'll make later on in the painting process. For example, I was able to use a large dry brush on the skin because, again, it didn't really matter what else I was touching on this model at this stage. If I'd have tried to base coat this jacket thing before I finished the skin paint job, it would have been almost impossible to dry brush this the way that I wanted to without making mistakes and having to go back and repaint stuff. Now, you can see that the skin is totally painted, so it's time to move on to the next largest thing, the pants. The pants aren't particularly hard to reach anywhere, but they're underneath everything else, so if you ever find yourself wondering which thing to paint first, my recommendation is to go hardest to reach, then more underneath, and then finally by size. You want to paint the larger areas earlier rather than later if possible. I don't want to go super in depth with every color and technique I use in this model today, since I really want this video to be about the process rather than specifically painting this model. If you want to see more technique-oriented videos, check out the other videos on my channel, or let me know with a comment what you want to see more about specifically. For this model though, generally I kept it simple and base coated each section, covered my base coat with a thick wash, and then came back with brighter colors to highlight. You can see as I go, I slowly work up the layers of detail on the model, painting the tunic with a wash and some edge highlights after the pants. Then, I move on to the large vest, which I want to be a dirty, worn leather. I use some slightly thicker paints instead of doing things at a glaze consistency to work detail into the leather, since I want my Moonstone models to be a bit more on the cartoonish side of things, rather than the super realistic type I use for Warhammer. Then came the leather straps and some other bits of the model, like the axe and all the skulls and all that. I made sure to be very careful during these steps to try and avoid hitting my brush on anything that had already been painted, and that helped me avoid mistakes. Fortunately, at this point, that's pretty easy to do since we're only painting the most raised pieces of the model that are already easy to reach. If we touch these only with the very side of our brush, it's really easy to control exactly where our paint goes so that we're not making mistakes. Once we've done this process across the whole model, we're done. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I genuinely hope this was helpful for you, and if it was, please let me know with a comment or a like. My name is Hero Song, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.